Scarlet and Violet have been out for a little while now, and everyone's been enjoying exploring the Paldea region and completing their Pokedex. But who cares about all that when they could be doing what really matters?
Crushing their enemies beneath them and proving their supremacy.
On January 7th, the first regional of the 2023 competitive season will take place in San Diego. I'll be flying to California to try to take the gold. It's too late to sign up for San Diego, but there's going to be plenty more events happening throughout the year. There's never been a better time to get into competitive Pokemon. Getting started can be extremely daunting. Don't worry, your old pal Spraw has been preparing since the game came out, and today, I'm going to give you all a sneak peek of my secret files, so you know exactly what to expect when you dive into competitive Pokemon. The early days of Scarlet and Violet have revolved around pairs of Pokemon that synergize well together. So today, we're going to talk about the 4 strongest pairings in the format, break down what they do, and provide a sample rental team for each one so you can try them out. Without further delay, here are the 4 pillars of Scarlet and Violet. Number 1. Murkrow and Golden Go. I bet you weren't expecting to see an unevolved Pokemon at the beginning of the video, but let me explain. Murkrow has the ability Prankster, which turns all of its status moves that don't deal damage, into priority moves. So, no matter how fast your opponent's Pokemon are, unless they're also using a priority move like Quick Attack, Murkrow will move before them.
Yeah, boy.
Murkrow's main reason for using Prankster is to set up Tailwind, an extremely powerful move that doubles all your Pokemon's speed for 4 turns. Murkrow can round out its moves with other support options like Haze to remove stat drops or stat increases, attacking moves like Foul Play to turn its opponent's attack stat against them, or Taunt to prevent the opponent's Pokemon from using powerful status moves like Spore. For such a little guy, it has a load of options. Players are split on whether the best item on Murkrow is Eviolite to give it better defensive stats, Focus Sash to make sure it survives one big hit, or Covert Cloak, make sure it doesn't get disrupted by Fake Out when trying to set up Tailwind. All 3 are strong options, but I personally like Eviolite. In past generations of Pokemon, Tailwind setters have usually been paired with powerful spread moves that can threaten to knock out both of the opponent's Pokemon at once, like Water Spout from Kyogre. This time, it's no different. Golden Go is a new Ghost and Steel type, and this little string cheese dude has been dominating since day 1.
Look at the top of his head!
Golden Go's signature move, Make It Rain, is a 120 base power special Steel-type move attack that hits both of your opponent's Pokemon. It also lowers Golden Go's special attack stat by 1 stage, but Haze from Murkrow and damage-boosting items like Choice Specs or Life Orb can mitigate that downside. A Golden Go with Make It Rain and a pair of Choice Specs can threaten to knock out almost any Pokemon that doesn't resist Steel, so it puts on an extreme amount of pressure, especially when you guarantee it will move before your opponents with Murkrow's Tailwind. This combo is the heart of Hyper Offense this generation. Guarantee you'll move first with Tailwind, and immediately force your opponent to be on the defensive. If you want to try a Murkrow Golden Go team yourself, try this rental team that came in 2nd place at a large Japanese tournament. Every Pokemon on the team is designed to benefit from Tailwind and put as much pressure on your opponents as possible. Before we get to the next pairing, please consider subscribing. Right now, literally 0.1% of my audience is subscribed, and I would absolutely love to get that number up and continue to grow. Thanks, and let's get back into it. At number 2, we have Rouge and Indeedee. Indeedee Female has been a staple of competitive Pokemon since its introduction in Generation 8. Its hidden ability, Psychic Surge, sets up Psychic Terrain, which boosts the damage of Psychic-type moves used by Pokemon on the ground, and prevents your opponents from targeting your grounded Pokemon with priority moves. Both of these traits are super valuable for Rouge. Indeedee Female also has an extremely powerful combination of supporting moves it can choose from. It has Follow Me, which redirects your opponent's moves to hit Indeedee instead of their intended target, Helping Hand, boosts the damage of your partner Pokemon, and Trick Room, to reverse the order the Pokemon move in. Just note that Indeedee Female can only learn Trick Room if you catch it from a 5-star raid, and the move can't be transferred. For an attacking move, Indeedee runs a psychic move like Psyshock, or runs Dazzling Gleam and has a Fairy Terra type to help it hit the dragon types that are everywhere in this format. Indeedee usually holds a Psychic Seed to boost its special defense when you set up Psychic Terrain. Indeedee Female's favorite partner used to be Hatterene, but with Generation 9, Rouge came around and Indeedee kicked Hatterene to the curb.
Get out of here. Get out of here!
Rouge is a new Fire Psychic type, and it fills the same role that Hatterene used to play in Sword and Shield. It sets up Trick Room, then it deals huge damage. Rouge will usually run Trick Room, Wide Guard or Protect, Expanding Force, a move that only Rouge learns this generation, and its signature move, Armor Cannon. There's a whole bunch of items it can choose from. Safety Goggles to protect it from Amoonguss, or Life Orb to boost its damage output, to name a few. Teams that only rely on Trick Room aren't super strong this generation, so generally, the Indeedee Rouge pair is part of a mode a team will have. An option, but not the game plan you'll use every single game. If you want to try out Indeedee Rouge, try this team from former world champion Wolfie VGC. It has two modes. One, where you set up Tailwind with Hydreigon and try to outspeed your opponent, and another, where you set up Trick Room to take advantage of how slow Indeedee and Armarouge are. It all depends on what tools your opponents have access to. If you can outspeed them, go for Tailwind. If you think they'll outspeed you, go for Trick Room. Grimsnarl is another breakout Pokemon from Generation 8 like Indeedee. It's a prankster Pokemon like Murkrow, but instead of being all about speed, Grimsnarl is all about defense. It has Light Screen and Reflect, moves that increase your special defense and defense respectively by 1.5 times. There's a few different ways that people leverage this, either by making already bulky Pokemon into unkillable monsters, or taking Pokemon that are generally fragile and making them a little more survivable so they can get an extra hit in. Grimsnarl usually holds a Light Clay to extend how long Light Screen and Reflect last. Sometimes it'll run an item like Iron Ball or Lagging Tail, so it can use the move Trick to swap items with another Pokemon, but that's not very popular right now. Usually it runs the 2 screens, Spirit Break, and an extra support move like Fake Out, Taunt, or Thunder Wave. Annihilape, a new ghost fighting type evolution of Primeape, is the premier Pokemon to take advantage of screens with in this format. Annihilape has great bulk and a great attacking stat. Annihilape's ability Defiant makes it extremely hard to mitigate damage from. Intimidate will only make it stronger. The only real options your opponents have are defensive buffs or trying to burn Annihilate. But Annihilape has tools to beat that too. Some Annihilape run Terra Fire to prevent burns, and almost all screens Annihilapes run Bulk Up. So, Annihilape can boost past defensive buffs and prevent itself from being burned, making it a near unstoppable machine unless you hit it extremely hard with super effective moves before it can get going. Annihilape's signature move, Rage Fist, is another part of why it's such a strong screens Pokemon. Rage Fist starts as a 50 base power physical ghost type attack, but every time Annihilape takes damage from an attack, its base power goes up by 50. So while your opponent is sitting there desperately trying to chip away at your Annihilape in screens, its rage is building and building. Annihilape usually holds leftovers for passive healing to increase its survivability even further, but sometimes you'll see it with safety goggles to beat up Mungus's Spore. If you want to try Grimsnarl and Annihilape, give this team the top 32 to the first major grassroots tournament of the year a try. Not only does it have Grimsnarl Annihilape stuff, it also has access to a strong Murkrow Tailwind mode with Hydreigon. Finally, last, but certainly not least, we have the pairing that many players believe to be the strongest in the format, Hatsagiri and Dondozo. Unlike the other 3 pairs, it's kind of hard to talk about these two one at a time. Why? Because they combine together like some kind of Power Rangers robot. Hatsagiri's ability, Commander, makes a jump into Dondozo's mouth and gives Dondozo a 2-stage boost to every stat. But while in this state, Dondozo can't switch out and you're forced to play a 1v2. This ability is extremely strong, because while your opponent is chewing through your Dondozo, you're dishing out huge amounts of damage back. It's like they have to fight a raid boss in the middle of the match. And when they're done fighting the raid boss, there's still the rest of your team they have to deal with. Not only do they have their raid boss mode, but Dondozo and Hatsagiri are both pretty good Pokemon on their own. Hatsagiri has an extremely strong typing, Water and Dragon, and this little sushi roll packs a huge punch, hitting opponents with Draco Meteor or Muddy Water with a higher special attacking stat than Danger. Not only does it hit hard, but it has a great collection of supporting moves like Icy Wind, Taunt, and Helping Hand. Hatsagiri's bulk isn't the best, so some players give it a Focus Sash to make sure it can take a hit, or a Choice Scarf to make sure it can get a move off before it gets beat up too bad. Dondozo's pretty good on its own too. The singles players have been calling it Water Snorlax, and we all know how strong Snorlax is. Dondozo's sets are pretty diverse. They basically always have Wave Crash, but beyond that, there's a million move options. Fissure for the Mirror, Substitute, Terra Blast, Protect, and its signature move, Order Up, a 90 base power, physical, Dragon-type move that, when Commander is active, boosts one of Dondozo's stats based on the Tatsugiri form that's in its mouth. Curly for attack, Droopy for defense, and Stretchy for speed. If you're using Order Up, most people play with Curly. If you want to try Dondozo Tatsugiri stuff, I'd recommend this team from Aaron Trailer, one of the best Pokemon players of all time. His team has a lot of different modes, Trick Room stuff with Armarouge, Tailwind with Hydreigon, and of course, the Dondozo mode, which goes well with either of the other 2 options. And there you have it, the 4 best pairings in Scarlet and Violet. Let me know in the comments if you like this kind of content, and make sure to tune into San Diego Regionals on January 7th so you can see how the format develops even further. What are you expecting to see in San Diego? I try to read every comment, so let me know down below. Bye.